just how impressive was it from Boston to tie this series the way that they did in Game 2 against the Heat?
Well, to me, it wasn't impressive. Kyle, we called this going 7 games. We predicted Boston to win this series when healthy. They didn't have Horford in game one, they didn't have Smart in game one. You see the difference that those two players provide. I understand that Horford only had 10 points and 3 rebounds in this game, but in terms of his physical presence, his presence with his length on the court and his defensive presence to just make sure that the penetration that Miami had in the first game did not exist as often as it was in the first, at least in this game. Marcus Smart, 24 points they didn't have last game. That's also 12 assists for him to facilitate and lead this offense. He also had 3 steals. The defensive player of the year, for a reason, was able to disrupt the flow of the offense in Miami. Now, I also get that they had contributions from plenty of other players, but when you look at the 2 players that we mentioned, there's a reason why they went back out and traded to get Horford back. They were missing that interior defense because, let's be honest, Tice was never that guy. He was a temporary placeholder to be a body. We know that Robert Williams has emerged as a premier defender at the center slash power forward position. But when Al Horford is in the mix, you got Williams in the mix, and then you have that dynamic duo that is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's hard to stop. We understand that Boston has a great defensive rating. We know that they're the top defensive team in the league, but that's legitimately like taking like a tire off of one of the best cars in the world. Like you're legitimately it can't function properly without it. And when you incorporated those 2 players back into this team, you saw the difference, you saw the spark. Marcus Smart didn't have the most efficient night from the field going 8 to 22, but his presence on the floor is enough. Diving for loose balls, making sure that he's getting all the effort in the world to harass Jimmy Butler, all those screen and rolls with Struess and Tyler Hero. He's going to be there. He's going to be in your face. Whether it's a physical foul or him stripping the ball out of your hands to temporarily disrupt the offense, he does it all. And those players are absolutely pivotal. Kyle alluded, Grant Williams had 19 points, Peyton Pritchard had 10. So all around great performance. You look at Miami's box score. Jimmy Butler did his thing. Jimmy had 29. He just did not receive the support that he did in the last game. Jimmy had 41, but he also had a couple of different, outliers and scores in other positions. Vincent had 14, but PJ Tucker only had 5. Bam Adebayo only had 6. Struess only had 6. So you really look at it like, where is the offense coming from? Where am I going to get help from? And they were really struggling. They couldn't really find a rhythm. They shot 29% from the 3-point line and only 44% from the field. Boston showed why they're the top defensive team, and when they get that squad reloaded, they're a team to be reckoned with. There's a reason why the Boston Celtics are favored to go to the NBA Finals.
Mike, you can go ahead.
I agree with everything you said. You just left out that the green hair from Marcus Smart gives him a little boost too. It's some extra VC
Yeah,
that like he uses
that,
when like he's out there. But no, but for I totally
The
agree with
Celtics are the
what you're
Warriors
saying.
of the East for me.
Like just the way that they play, the way that the ball movement, the fact that it's 1 through 15 going in and putting in effort on every win. You know, it's the fact that that they can rely on Tatum to make that shot, Jaylen Brown to make that shot. And if not, you got Horford who's going to come out and have a random game where he's going to go 15, 10, and 6, and it makes a difference. The same thing with Smart, you know, going into the playoffs, going into the second round, I really wanted to see Miami and Boston because it seems like from a basketball standpoint, that's going to be the best game. Granted, these past two have been, little blowouts compared to tonight, which was a major one. But, you know, I'm not going to count Miami out yet. We've seen what Jimmy can do and bring a team to 6 games, 7 games, and to literally till he can't do it anymore. I know Kyle Lowry's out. I know PJ is PJ, but the same way with Boston, if Miami gets firing on all cylinders, it's gonna be hard. You know, defense can only do so much, and you know, we know the character that is Jimmy Butler, and we know everything that he brings on and off the court. I definitely think Miami can sneak one in Boston. It might not be the next one, but I definitely think that they can. And if that happens, then it's going to be really interesting. So
Yeah, you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head here. I mean, Boston just came out firing on all cylinders in the first half. And it was kind of similar to what took place in game one. Boston got off to a very good start. It's just in the second half of game one, they just couldn't buy a shot. I think if I look back at that game one performance, specifically for Boston in the third quarter, they scored like 14 points. Miami put them up for like damn near 40 in one quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you look at this game specifically, Boston got off to a very hot start. They were up 20 some points going into halftime. And on the road, that's absolutely huge. It's just the difference with this game is they were able to maintain that cushion the entire way through the game. They really stifled what Miami made as far as adjustments are concerned coming out of halftime. Because when you look at the box score of both teams in the second half, they both went point for point with each other. They both scored 26 in the third quarter, and they both scored 31 points in the fourth quarter. If you're looking at it from Boston's perspective, you're already up like 20 some points anyway. As long as you match what Miami's doing, and Miami's the team that has to really kind of get back into it, with them being down over 20 points, you can't be mad at that. Like if you're going shot for shot with them for the most part, you live with that. And looking at just individual players that really stood out, honestly, it was Marcus Smart. This game in particular really showed how big his absence was in game one. I mean, usually like when I look at Marcus Smart, he's really that energizer bunny. Mike, you were saying like they kind of like remind you of the Warriors, but a version of them is what Boston has in the East, and he kind of like reminds me of that Draymond type player in the role of he's gonna be in your face, he's gonna be playing just gritty the entire way through. Granted, he may not put up, like 30 plus points every game, but he could drop 20, 25 points when the team needs it. Or, he can get some big defensive rebounds when the team really needs it, or get a steal. That's been Marcus Smart's MO for as long as I can remember. And just his presence in game two, I think, was the difference maker that led Boston to get this huge road win. And,
For sure.
When this series goes back to Boston for game three, I could still see a scenario where both teams split the games in Boston, and then it goes back to game five, 2-2 apiece.